It begins now.
This time, it can be different. It has to.
Resident Evil 4 Remake was announced last Thursday, and many people were ecstatic, myself included. But I guess the one question is going to be remaining up until the release date. How much is going to change of Resident Evil 4? Well, we already got small snippets of the game, and we kind of know what to expect, just a bit. What we do know is that the atmosphere for Resident Evil 4 is going to be drastically changed. It looks so much darker than the original game. Night was not a big thing. However, in this game, it looks like night is going to be rather terrifying, and kind of happy for that. With regards to changes, let's talk about what could change. So in chapter 1.1, not much can change really. The section with the dog, hopefully they keep that. I doubt they would just write off the dog like that. I don't think it would be that good, especially because the dog does play a little bit of a role. Now, other than just that role, I do not want the dog anywhere near the island. I don't want that dog to be anywhere else except just to distract the El Gigante. That's it. Nothing else. Not much should change. 1-2. At the very start, right when you get control of Leon and meet the merchant for the very first time, this section is kind of bad. It's narrow. And this doesn't play very well, honestly, with Resident Evil 4's combat. With regards to the narrowness of Chapter 1-2, I think it needs to be expanded a little bit, allow for a little bit more leg room. However, we do know that we're going to be able to walk and aim at the very same time, so that's going to be a little bit easier to deal with in terms of the horde. However, we don't know if melee attacks are going to be in. We don't know that, but hopefully it is. Now, with regards to 1-2, for the most part, I would say the section needs to be widened up, not necessarily expanded. There's not much to cut here. Now, 1-3, I think there's a couple things that need to be changed. One, the boulder sections, I don't really think highly of them. They're kind of weird and out of place, in my honest opinion. Either changing it up with something else, like maybe like a car. I think that could change and still kind of drive the same effect. Like, these people are crazy, they're gonna run you over and they're trying to kill you. So I just don't think highly of the boulders. The boulders can be left out, honestly. Besides the Delago fight, the Delago fight is very boring. The Delago fight needs to change. It's boring and repetitive. All it is the weird toad frog thing is just dragging you from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake. And all you're doing in between is dodging logs and throwing harpoons in its ass. That's all you're doing. I don't see much of a big thing in terms of fun to this. It's very repetitive. There's nothing else you can do, and I think that needs to change. So, with regards to Delago, that's about all I can muster up in terms of thought. So, after 1-3 comes 2-1. 2-1, you wake up in the cabin, and you go into the waterfall cave to get the medallion, which goes to the church, and you get your first El Gigante fight. Now, El Gigante fight, not much needs to be said. I like the fight, and I don't think it needs to be changed. We are definitely getting the dogs back. I mean, you have to have the dogs back. I believe the dogs are coming back. and they're going to be as scary, hopefully much more terrifying. But we don't know, because the past few Resident Evil games, dogs have been nothing in terms of scariness at all. They're really easy to dodge, and maybe they might change that. Who knows? I think the church should be expanded a little bit, maybe having a couple extra rooms where you can see yourself going in, checking out other rooms. That might be fun. That, I think, hopefully gets expanded just a bit. Hopefully some new puzzles, obviously, but hopefully a little bit more expansion in the church. So 2-2, we basically go back to the village. Then from there you go to the farmhouse, where you first get introduced to the hide mechanic. I think what would be interesting is you can have Ashley hide in different places, and I think that would be kind of interesting. That way you don't have these weird dumpsters that are just out in the open and be like, hide, and you could just put them in different places. Put her in different places. That way it's easier for her to just kind of get out of the way, and it could also help out in terms of, for instance, in the village when you're fighting the ganados and then their heads pop off and Las Plagas is, unveiled, you could have her hide in some house, and as long as you know where she is, you could check up on her. Obviously they're probably going to have some kind of mechanic to where if she's in danger, you would know. Maybe, who knows, we'll see. We don't know exactly how Ashley is going to be dealt with. Ashley does get kidnapped a lot. Who knows? Maybe that might change. So after the farmhouse, you go to the shack. This is going to stay. There's no question about it. That's going to stay. So nothing there should be changed at all. Maybe some dialogue, but who knows? Maybe they might show some ballistics. After 2-2, we go to 2-3, which is the big cheese fight. And I think what needs to happen here, because there's a weird fork in the road at the very beginning of the stage, or chapter, is you have to go either left or you have to go right. Now, for me personally, I go both ways because I do want the treasures. So I go left and then right. And I think what could happen is they kind of just combine both sides. That way you don't choose, because obviously the first time you do it, you just pick one way and then just deal with the consequences later. But for someone like me who wants all the treasures, I like doing both sides and getting both treasures, and because more money. But I think those routes should be combined into one, where Elegante comes up first and runs you down all the way towards the end. And if you basically kill him, you get the rewards, and then you go through the gate. The gate goes straight to the Bella sisters, and then you have the horde fight essentially afterwards. That way it makes it so that you could get both treasures and not have to backtrack and waste time. I think wasting time is kind of my pet peeve in Resident Evil 4, where you have to backtrack certain places to get certain items. Butterfly. That is 2-3 in a nutshell. Basically is that one route I think needs a bit of changing. Let's go to 3-1, which is the start of the castle, and I have some problems with 3-1. Specifically 3-1. So 3-1 starts off with you at the castle gates. You run up the stairs and you're met with some catapults. I think the catapults needs to be changed a little bit. I'm not too sure if that should stay, honestly, because we are in a castle, but it's not necessarily medieval, right? And this particular section goes on for a little too long. So the catapults aside, there's one place I hate the most, and that is the hall. As soon as you open up, there are like 5 ganados, or not ganados, los luminados, coming in at you. There's a zealot, there's 2 crossbows up atop, and they're shooting you. Yeah, this hall sucks, okay? I do not like this hall. Especially the fact that you have to crank 3 cranks. And you have to hoist up Ashley. She has to go up to 1, crank the other. This room sucks. I think this room can have a good overhaul. I don't understand it. I don't like this place. I don't like this place at all. It's just frustrating to deal with. I think the crank usage could dial it back down. Yeah. I just don't like this place. I don't like this place at all. That, I think, either needs to get cut or changed. I would rather have it cut, though. I don't like that hall. Anyways, after that hall, you're met with the end of the chapter. Ashley gets taken away again. And now we get into 3-2. Now, 3-2, I don't have necessarily a problem with. It's with a certain enemy that becomes a problem later on. And it's these bugs. These bugs, they go invisible at the very start. But later on, let's get into that later on. So, I don't have a problem with 3-2 at all. 3-2's pretty fine, I think. And then, let's see, 3-3, Luis dies, and you go to... Actually, hold on, 3-2. 3-2, you go through the bug room, then you go up, there's a Zealot meeting or whatever, Los Iluminados meeting. I usually throw a grenade there, reap the rewards, go up top, there's a gallery room. Ah, yes, that kind of needs to be changed up. The room right before the gallery, where you have to chase a red Zealot, come on, dude. I think that needs to change. I don't want to be chasing an enemy for him to just pop up with a minigun. Come on, dude. That's just lame. And if you miss your shot, which, by the way, you can kill him before then. If you miss your shot, I mean, I'm sorry. You're probably going to have to deal with a minigun. But there's ways around it, but I don't care. I don't like this place. This place kind of sucks. The picture room needs to stay. So 3-2 is kind of long. I think some of it needs to be cut. It's a little long. 3-3 though is pretty good. I think it's actually really decent. The weird, I forget the conquistador's name. I forget him. The one with the stitched up eyes. He's probably going to come back. I mean, he's really good. He's a really good candidate for horror. He's a bit of a licker, just the fact that he can cut your face off. I like that. So, he's probably going to come back. The 3-3, you go through that room, then you go through the weird switch where you raise up a bridge, weirdly enough. This castle is weird, now that I think about it. And then you get a free RPG. 3-3 is not bad for just the length of it. I think the length of it is okay. It's not bad at all. 3-2 is just too long, now that I think about it. But that aside, 3-4, which is the release of Ashley, this section needs to stay. There's no question about it. Where you play as Ashley and you have to survive, essentially, that obviously can be changed around a little bit, but you need to play as Ashley because what could go wrong, right? Right. It's not like you're that helpless, right? That needs to stay. Ashley just fits in with the horror aspect of it, and it does need to stay. And I can only imagine the lighting of it, which would be stellar. After that comes 4-1, and 4-1 sucks. And let me try to explain it. So let's kind of get into it. So 4-1, you can actually get the broken butterfly here, and you can backtrack. But the problem with it is that if you decide to go forward, you have this weird lava room where statues come and breathe fire. I'm pretty sure that's going to get cut. It just doesn't make sense at all. Not at all. So they're probably going to cut this section or probably change it around a little bit. Then after you do that, you take this weird ride to the front of the castle again, and from there you put in the weird chimera pieces and then go up to the stairs. If you want a gold, go through the doors. Then you take another ride and you go to this weird place where now you have to do Kings and Queens Cup. So these sections of the game I have no problem with. Actually, I think the King's Cup should stay as it is. Queen's Cup could be changed a little bit. There's a weird drill that just comes around for no reason. I think that's just weird. Maybe they might change that. But Ashley being trapped and then you have to free her, I mean, that's kind of par for the course. So that's probably going to stay there. And then after you go through the Kings and Queens Cup, you go to this weird circular tower where there's this hive. And this I have a big problem with, because even though the hive is not a problem, it's what comes out of that hive. And these bugs, these swarm of bugs, just, they fill me with rage. They are annoying, they swarm you, and they can kill you in one full combo. It's not fair, it's not fun, it's very annoying. And I think if they were to change this, especially this section up, the bugs, I think, instead of swarming, they can come one or two at a time, and they would be invisible, right? You would hear them flying around, but they would be invisible on the ground, right? And because it would be darker, they would be hidden, and you would have to wait until one of them comes in and you can, shoot them, basically. But I do not like this place. I don't like this place. And there's another place where they come out, and I don't like that place either. So I don't like these bugs. These bugs are annoying, and they're not fun to deal with. Anyways, this part of the section is a little long. After you go to this tower, you go to this weird section where you go to another tower that turns around. I think this whole section can be cut. I don't see any kind of use for it at all. It's not fun for me to play at all. I think that rotating section can be cut off and just go to the bridge where there's a whole bunch of Los Iluminados, especially the one with the RPG. I think that right there would be better. Just transitioning to that and then going through the double doors and dealing with those two weird Wolverine things. I forget their name. I seriously forget their name. But dealing with those two, you then have to deal with the right-hand man himself, Verdugo. And this is all 4-1, by the way. This is all 4-1. This chapter is too long, I think. This chapter is just a little too long. So 4-1 is a little too long. I think cutting a big section of it wouldn't be that bad, honestly. With the rotating tower, I don't like it. I think they could cut that out very easily. The Verdugo fight, I don't think is going to change much because it leads into the mines, and I actually don't mind it. It's actually good. They could actually expand the chase scene a little bit. I think that would be fun, is having Verdugo chase you for longer rather than having, Leon just go and turn on the power box or whatever it is. But now that we're done with 4-1, 4-2, obviously the bug room needs to go. The bug room I do not like. I do not like the bug room. I like the El Gigante fight. I don't like the bug room. So the bug room I think needs to go. I do not like it. I do not like it at all. And you can deal with it. You can deal with it with a shotgun, obviously. The striker is really good for it. But my problem isn't the fact that you need a gun that can deal with crowd control. It's the fact that they can swarm you regardless of the crowd control. And that pains me a lot. I do not like this fight. This fight sucks. I wouldn't change much except the bug room. The bug room sucks. Ugh. Now let's go to 4-3. Now, me personally, I love the minecart ride. I do not know why. It's stupid, but I love it. I hope they keep that in and not ground it entirely in realism for Resident Evil 4 Remake. I do love the minecart ride. It's just fun. There's just something about it that is fun. You just get excited because it's just fun. Everything about 4-3 I actually do like. 4-4, I think there should be a little bit more change in 4-4. So 4-4, obviously the big Salazar, Ramon Salazar, the big ass statue with that midget's face. I think that is probably gonna stay there. I do not. Well, I hope. I hope it doesn't go Gundam mode and just start mowing things down. I think that's just weird. But I do think the statue will still stay there. You just have to climb around and try to complete your objective through that. But I do not know if it's going to go Gundam. I hope not. After that statue, you get a run-in with Ramon again, the midget. This time you have to go up a spiral staircase, and this one I think needs to change a little bit. The elevator ride is not fun for me because it's kind of boring. All you do is just stand still in a corner, shoot a shotgun shot, knock a couple off, and then another few, Los Illuminados Zealots come down, and then you shoot them, knock them off, and, rinse and repeat. It's kind of boring. Anyways, I think with regards to that one elevator ride, not much needs to change. And then from here, we go to the dreaded island. And the island sucks for a vast majority of the time. So 5-1, you go to the island, and I think the time it takes to get from the starting point to the factory / lab / whatever it is, the building, I think that needs to cut down a little bit. I think getting to the factory is probably a more important thing for the developers to do than anything else, honestly, because the time it takes to get there is riddled with just unnecessary fights. And I think, just cutting it down a little bit, it's just one big enemy by the name of Jimmy J, the minigun extraordinaire. Cutting down the whole section of the militia, I think would be nice. Just kind of getting from one point to the next point there, I think would be fine. And the reason why I say that is because 5-1 ends as soon as you get Ashley, and you get Ashley after a very long trek. So it's not a necessarily short journey, it's just long, and there's a lot of unnecessary fights, I would say. Obviously, there's one enemy that everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say regenerator. These enemies, they are going to be in. They better be in. Otherwise, there will be a riot. I can probably guarantee that. There is no question, no doubt about it. That has to stay. For many people, many people, myself included, the regenerators, they kind of redeemed, in a way, the horror aspect of Resident Evil 4. For the most part, the chainsaw was terrifying because of the one-shot capability. But what made the regenerators so scary, the way they attack, especially if you shoot off their limbs, and how they just attack you regardless of it, is otherworldly and very scary. And in a way, that just redeemed the action horror game of Resident Evil 4. There's no question about it, they're going to keep the regenerators. You don't need all of these fights. Make it much more atmospheric. Sometimes less is more. And in this case, I think less enemies could really help out in terms of the trek to the med labs or whatever, the laboratory. So 5-2, you get Ashley, and then you go through the dumpster, Iron Maiden. This is kind of the place where I say this this section needs to be cut. The weird switch comes with the wrecking ball. That I do not like. I don't understand it. I don't like it. I don't like this place. This place is just dumb in my eyes. I just don't like it. Why is there a door behind a concrete wall? Let's just not have that at all. It's just weird. I like the regenerator hallway. I do like that. I think that needs to be there. The bulldozer section, I don't know about it. It's a mixed bag. I don't like the bulldozer section. It's just weird. I don't know. They might keep it. They might not keep it. I'm not on either side. I don't like it. But I could see it staying and I could still play it. It's not like I care really. I just don't like the situation. That's all. I don't necessarily care about it. So then after that we get 5-3, which is another long section of the game. And this time we're met with a new character. This time it's Krauser. And Krauser is interesting because he's only in one chapter in the entire Resident Evil 4 game, which is weird. He wasn't shown at all. They might expand him in the remake. Hopefully they do, because that Resident Evil 4 knife fight, that cannot change. Honestly, they're probably going to make the knife fight, hopefully, much more fluid and not so not so chopped up in terms of, attacking again, them talking, attacking, talking, attack, talk. Maybe have a little bit more attacking rather than talking, hopefully. So maybe they might do that. Hopefully they do that. After that, you deal with the laser room. Don't know how I feel about the laser room. I know where the callback is with Resident Evil 1, the movie, and it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. The laser room, kind of weird. Hopefully they keep it though. It's kind of stupid, so I think they'll keep it. I don't mind it. The throne room, not too sure about the throne room. They might keep. Now this section, after the throne room, you go to the weird caves. This one I do have a little bit of a problem with. So for some reason you're met with a new enemy, a new boss enemy called the U3. And the U3 is just weird. I like the lighting of where the fight takes place in this weird crane held cage match, but I just don't understand the bottomless pit, because you're on an island. There's no such thing as a bottomless pit. There would be water. So I don't understand that. There has to be water there, just so you know. And the reason why is because water just floods in through rocks, and I'm not going to get into it, but basically, long story short, there would be water. There's no bottomless pit where you're in an island and there's basically a pit with no water. I mean, there would be water. That's just how it is. So with that regard, I would say that whole cave setting is weird. Maybe they could have it where there's like a boat and you have to fight through that cage to get to the other side of whatever it is. Maybe they could change that. The other pet peeve is the fact that you have to fight this boss, U3, and then Krauser right after that. I think having it separated from one chapter to another would be a little bit better. That way you can actually amass resources during that time, because U3 is no pushover. U3 is a little bit of a heavy hitter sometimes. So that's fine. Then the Krauser fight, not much needs to be changed in my eyes. I don't see them changing much. Maybe have more CQC prompts when you're fighting him with a knife. I think that would be far better than just you hit him with a knife and he just kind of flashes you with a grenade and then just runs away. I think that would be fun to have a CQC battle with him. That would be fun. Not much needs to be changed for 5.3. Now 5.4, let's talk about this place, because this place sucks. So, if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, just see for yourself. Yeah, this place sucks, okay? This place sucks. This entire gauntlet that you have to go through to get Ashley sucks. I don't know who came up with the idea, hey, yeah, let's have the player go through these sections. It's a militia camp. There's going to be a whole bunch of minigun fire, the blah, 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 blah. Whoever came up with that, no. Okay, no. I don't like it. It's not fun. I don't fight anyone until I get to Jimmy J, the minigun extraordinaire. I don't get anywhere near an opponent until I get to him. And then from there, you have to go through this weird gate. You have to go through this gate where it locks behind you, convenient enough. And you have to, again, go through a couple miniguns. Come on, Capcom. This is not fun. Then after that, Mike dies. You go through like a jail cell or whatever it is, and then go through another gauntlet where you have to get 2 key cards, or a key card if I remember right, hit 2 buttons, open up the gate. This whole chapter sucks. I don't like it. It's only memorable because it's a chore. It's not fun at all. Then after that, you get the Sadler fight. Not much needs to be said. That's not going to be changing whatsoever. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. Now let's talk about some improvements. What could be improved on it? Well, we already know you can walk and aim. We know that. So what could be improved for Resident Evil 4 Remake? Well, the problem with Resident Evil 4 is that you have to stop every single fight encounter and switch weapons. Obviously they're probably going to have some kind of swapping weapons mechanism, like in Resident Evil 4, where you bind it to a directional button. But I think they could go a little bit better to this. Because you do get a lot of weapons in Resident Evil 4, what they could do is a scroll wheel where you change the order and you press left or right to swap weapons. And you could swap weapons instantly, right? So you could, I don't know if you could shoot and then swap and then shoot and then swap. That would be weird, but hey, he's a secret agent, right? That could also free up because Resident Evil 4 has grenades. Because it has grenades, you need to be able to change grenades on the fly. Basically, it's kind of like a different scroll wheel with how the submenu was in Resident Evil 2 Remake, where you could change your grenades. You could change the flash grenade to a what was it? You could change the flash grenade to the hand grenade. So basically you could do that. How would they do the knife? I think the knife would be interesting to change up. I think the knife should have its own button. It's probably going to be like L1 or left bumper, whatever it is. And it's probably going to be somewhat similar Resident Evil 2 Remake or maybe Resident Evil 3 Remake. I'm not too sure yet. Maybe having its own combo use. I think that would be interesting, where the knife is the premier CQC weapon and you could literally cut up ganados with it. I think that would be interesting, where you have CQC with a knife and being able to save your resources, especially in a survival game, is paramount when it comes to resource management. So who knows, maybe they could go that route. It's probably most likely, with pretty good chance, that it's probably going to be somewhat similar to Resident Evil 2 Remake, where the knife is really good but only at higher frame rates. But it's probably going to be a large slice. It's probably going to be like that. I mean, why change it if it's not broken, right? So, what could happen with the mechanics of the game? So, apart from Ashley, I think Leon, and this is going to get a little controversial, I think Leon should have a dodge mechanic. So, if you're still here, what do I mean by that? Well, I think putting Carlos's dodge from Resident Evil 3 Remake and Jill's dodge from Resident Evil 3 Remake, having those dodges come together, I think could help out. Because with Resident Evil 3 Remake, the dodge sucks. You don't get any invincibility frames off of a roll for any more than just that one attack. Are you serious? If you don't understand what I'm talking about, basically you can dodge a grab attack from a zombie and then get immediately grabbed right after that. Who in their right mind designed that? That does not sound right at all. The way Carlos counterattacks is a perfect dodge. And obviously you have to do the dodge and then another dodge to get the counterattack going. Blah, 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 blah. I think that is how you could do melee attacks in Resident Evil 4 Remake. It wouldn't do a lot of damage compared to a gunshot, but it would be great for crowd control. And that, I think, is kind of the balance the game needs to strike, is where you need to have a good gunplay where you can walk and aim. Remember, there's walking and aiming, but also being able to get out of very nasty situations where if you do find yourself in a situation where there is a Dr. Salvador coming at you and there's 3 Ganados coming in right behind you, I think a dodge could help out right there. While some people might be able to throw a grenade, maybe you didn't have a grenade at the time, and I think having a dodge right there could help out. Especially because Resident Evil 4 actually does have dodge animations for Leon. He can roll left and right, and he can backflip. And here's why I would say he should have a dodge mechanic. And the reason why is because in Resident Evil 4, all the dodges were prompts. So, for instance, if El Gigante had a tree and he decided to take a swing at you, you would have to press the buttons associated with the dodge right at the time. And you did that and you would dodge it, right? I think giving the player the power of dodge would make that simpler, because now every prompt is negated to where you have to press the button at that point in time. It's no longer, here comes that attack. Okay, I can dodge it. No. You have to make the dodge, and guess what? You could dodge almost every attack, right? And you could have different counterattacks for different bosses and different enemies, right? I think that would also add to replayability. And the dodge system obviously has to be tweaked up, because if it's straight out of Resident Evil 3 Remake, it's going to be trash. I'm sorry, it's just trash. You need to have invincibility on a roll and have it up until a certain point of time. You can't just be dodging and then getting hit right afterwards. Ugh. M2, please. I'm sorry. Anyways, so other improvements. So the one thing I hope doesn't change, the content. M2 was outsourced by Capcom to make Resident Evil 3 Remake. Thankfully, they're not going to be doing this game. Thankfully. This is done by Division 1 Capcom. So they're the ones that did the Devil May Cry 5. They did Resident Evil 2 Remake, and they did Resident Evil Village, I believe. But they're the main division of Capcom when it comes to these games, and they have proven themselves to make really good games. Hopefully they make another good game, because Resident Evil 3 Remake was a disaster when it came to the content. They cut off a lot of things, and one of the biggest things is the fact that Resident Evil 3 Remake's gameplay is not that bad. But the fact that there was no mercenaries mode kills that game so much, especially for how short Resident Evil 3 Remake is. It's not that good when it comes to just how much content it is. And the thing is that Resident Evil is a series where you play through the game once. You unlock costumes, you unlock new guns, you unlock new modes. You play through the story once to unlock those things. You go back through the story to either do another playthrough with good guns or try to complete it faster. And guess what? Unlock newer weapons. I think this game, Resident Evil 4 Remake, needs to have the content. It needs to have that content. Otherwise, it will flop. Hopefully, mercenary mode is not cut off from the game this time around. Mercenary mode needs to stay in because it does add a lot to replayability. In terms of gunplay, the gunplay we'll probably figure it out later on. Probably TGS is going to be the next showcase for Resident Evil 4 Remake. But besides the content, which I do hope is going to stay somewhat regular, I do hope they do give newer outfits to Leon and Ashley this time around. Not just Special 1, Special 2, and then normal costume. Let's add a little bit more variety here. Okay? I would like a little bit more variety. And obviously real-time in-game renders would be fine. I would love to see Leon to come back with the mafia suit, the 1930s mobster suit, and being able to see that in an in-game cutscene would be fun. I'm pretty sure they can handle that. Hopefully they do. And if you stuck around for over however long this time is, thank you for listening to me. This is the very first time I've done my voice on this. And honestly, I just had to get it off my chest. I do not like certain sections of Resident Evil 4. I think Resident Evil 4, the first game, is really, really good. Not a good Resident Evil game, but such an iconic game. And it's such a good game. And I do recommend anyone who wants to play a good game, hey, if you haven't played it by now, I mean, now's a good time. Right? Now is a good time to play it. So, with that being said, if you like the video, hey, leave down a like. And if you really do want to hear another thing I have to say, well, I am trying to stream, but we'll see how much that kind of goes off. But anyways, thank you for listening and have yourself a wonderful day.